Not a single Democrat is here today because not a single one of them gives a damn about the fact that they lied to the American people for 4 years. They knew. Every one of them knew that Joe Biden was mentally not competent to do the job. The White House press secretary, she knew when she stood in front of the American people and lied over and over and over again. And they're not here because they can't defend themselves.
Oh.
Under the Biden White House, the ceremonial song, Hail to the Chief, was effectively replaced with Hail to the Pen. And it was an outright assault on democracy. And every reporter covering this ought to ask, why doesn't a Democrat care that if we get into a war and Iran is preparing to fire a nuclear weapon at the United States, that the commander-in-chief is busy playing with his jello?
Hey, Patriots. Welcome back to Conservative Call. I'm your host, and if you believe in defending our Constitution and holding our government accountable, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe with notifications on, because we're not backing down from the truth. Today, we're reacting to some absolutely shocking testimony from Senator Ted Cruz that every American needs to hear.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Biden administration may go down in history as the most brazen constitutional fraud in American history. A Potemkin presidency fronted by a failing puppet with staffers behind the scenes pulling the strings. This is not political hyperbole. The American people saw it with their own eyes during the June 2024 debate. Numerous times, Biden stood frozen behind the podium, mouth agape, eyes frozen and unblinking. When he did speak, his words were confused and disjointed. I said that night, this is the most consequential presidential debate in history because it will result in one of the two candidates being removed from the ballot. That was exactly right. And following that debate, the Democrats recognized the collapse. They pulled out their knives and took out President Biden like Caesar on the Ides of March. For all of their strutting about, protesting that they support democracy, not a one of them gave a damn about democracy when they pulled Biden off the ballot and dropped Kamala Harris in without a single Democrat primary voter voting for him. And you know what? Not a single Democrat is here today because not a single one of them gives a damn about the fact that they lied to the American people for 4 years. They knew. Every one of them knew that Joe Biden was mentally not competent to do the job. The White House press secretary, she knew when she stood in front of the American people and lied over and over and over again. And they're not here because they can't defend themselves. It wasn't a surprise. For 4 years, the White House hid President Biden from Republican senators, would not let him meet with us. He served 40 years in this body. We all know him. And they deliberately lied. And by the way, Jake Tapper had a bombshell book exposing the incredible scandal that Biden's mental decline was covered up by Jake Tapper. There's a Yiddish word, chutzpah. And that truly is chutzpah. How dare we lie and cover up what we all knew? Now, I have been asked literally 1,000 times by Texans, who was running the country? And I'm going to give you the most terrifying answer. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And not a single Democrat here cares. The most telling proof of Biden's decline came with the signature of the president, the symbol of executive authority that was outsourced to a machine. Mr. Wold, you're a lawyer who served in the White House counsel's office. You understand the gravity of presidential action. Does the president's signature carry legal and constitutional weight under Article 2?
Yes.
Is the act of signing an executive order or signing a law or granting a pardon a delegable duty of the president?
So in that opinion in 2005 from OLC, they said essentially that an AUTOPEN could be used by a subordinate, but the president's determination as to sign the document can never be delegated.
Can that authority be transferred to a staffer or a machine without the president's explicit authorization?
Never.
And if you look at the statistics are stunning. In 2021, President Biden issued 78 executive orders. None were signed with an AUTOPEN. That first year of the presidency, Biden, I suppose, was relatively lucid, and 78 executive orders he signed by hand. The second year, however, we see the AUTOPEN emerge. The first AUTOPEN executive order was issued on July 15th, 2022. After that day, 100% of the executive orders issued in 2022 were signed by an AUTOPEN. In 2023, Biden issued 24 executive orders. 16 were AUTOPENed. In 2024, Biden issued 19. 14 were AUTOPENed. In 2025, Biden issued 14 executive orders. Every single one was AUTOPENed. Mr. Wald, let me ask you as a legal matter, if there's a law that's passed both houses of Congress and it goes to the White House, and a staffer AUTOPENs signing that law without the president's authorization, is that law legally passed and signed into law?
No.
If an executive order is issued and a staffer AUTOPENs it without the president's authorization, is that executive order legally binding?
No.
And if a pardon is issued from the President of the United States and a staffer AUTOPENs it without the President's authorization, is that pardon legally binding?
No.
Under the Biden White House, the ceremonial song, Hail to the Chief, was effectively replaced with Hail to the Pen. And it was an outright assault on democracy. And every reporter covering this ought to ask, why doesn't a Democrat care? We heard about the moral responsibilities of a staffer. How about an elected senator who knows damn well that if we get into a war and Iran is preparing to fire a nuclear weapon at the United States, that the commander-in-chief is busy playing with his Jell-O and is not competent to defend ourselves? And every member of the cabinet, the chief of staff, the press secretary, and the members of Congress who lied about this on a daily basis with the press's complicity, they are all responsible for subverting democracy.
Senator Cornyn.
What you just witnessed, folks, is nothing short of a constitutional crisis. Senator Cruz just laid out the most damning evidence of governmental deception I've ever seen, and the mainstream media is completely silent. This isn't just politics as usual. This is about the very foundation of our republic. Let's break down what Cruz revealed. For 4 years, we were told everything was fine. The White House press secretary stood at that podium day after day, assuring the American people that President Biden was sharp, engaged, and fully competent. But Cruz just exposed that Republican senators were deliberately blocked from meeting with Biden. Think about that. 40 years this man served in the Senate alongside these Republicans, and suddenly he's too fragile to meet with them? That's not normal governance. That's a cover-up. The June 2024 debate changed everything. We all saw it with our own eyes. A sitting president standing frozen, confused, unable to complete coherent thoughts. Cruz called it right that night when he said it would result in a candidate being removed from the ballot. And what happened next should terrify every American who believes in democracy. The Democratic Party, the same people who lecture us about threats to democracy, executed the most undemocratic power grab in modern history. They threw Biden under the bus faster than you could say cognitive decline and installed Kamala Harris without a single primary vote. Not one. They completely disenfranchised their own voters. And where's the outrage from the media? But here's the part that should make your blood boil. The AUTOPEN revelations. Cruz presented hard evidence that in 2021, Biden signed 78 executive orders by hand. But by 2025, every single executive order was signed by a machine. Every single one. We're talking about the most fundamental power of the presidency, the president's signature, being outsourced to a robot. Think about the constitutional implications here. Cruz brought in a White House lawyer who confirmed that presidential authority cannot be delegated to a machine or staffer without explicit authorization. So if Biden wasn't explicitly authorizing each AUTOPEN signature, we potentially have hundreds of executive orders, laws, and pardons that are constitutionally invalid. This isn't just about paperwork, patriots. This goes to the heart of who is actually running our country. Cruz asked a question that keeps me up at night. Who is running the country? And his answer should chill you to the bone. I don't know. The senator from Texas, with decades of experience, genuinely doesn't know who is making the decisions for the most powerful nation on earth. Imagine if we had faced a real crisis. Cruz painted the terrifying scenario of Iran preparing to launch a nuclear weapon while our commander-in-chief is playing with his jello. That's not hyperbole. That's a realistic assessment based on what we now know was hidden from the American people. The media was complicit in this cover-up. They had access. They saw the decline, and they chose to protect the narrative instead of protecting the truth. Every White House correspondent who sat in those briefings and didn't ask the hard questions failed in their duty to the American people. What makes this even more infuriating is a complete absence of democratic accountability. Cruz pointed out that not a single Democrat showed up to defend their actions. They can't defend the indefensible, so they just don't show up. That's cowardice. Plain and simple. This testimony exposes a shadow presidency where unelected staffers were making decisions that should only be made by the person we elected. That's not how our constitutional system works. The president is supposed to be the president, not a figurehead, while anonymous bureaucrats pull the strings behind the scenes. Every cabinet member, every chief of staff, every press secretary who participated in this deception betrayed their oath to the Constitution. They put party politics above the security and stability of our nation. That's not just wrong, it's dangerous. The American people deserve answers. We deserve to know who is actually making the decisions. We deserve to know which executive orders are legally valid. We deserve accountability from every person who participated in this elaborate deception. This is why we can never trust the establishment again. This is why we need fighters like Ted Cruz who are willing to ask the uncomfortable questions and demand the truth, even when it's politically inconvenient. Patriots, this story isn't going away. Share this video, discuss it with your friends and family, and demand answers from your representatives. Our Constitution and our democracy depend on holding these people accountable. Don't forget to like this video if you believe in constitutional accountability. Subscribe for more truth that the mainstream media won't tell you, and ring that notification bell, because Conservative Call will always bring you the facts they don't want you to hear. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay patriotic, and keep fighting for the truth.